Fan favorite Jeff makes a triumphant return to the list, proving his popularity is here to stay. Daredevil fever is rising as fans gear up for the new series on Disney+. And Mark Spears continue to reign with multiple books on this list. The question is, who will take the top spot? Let's dive into this week's hottest comics. Now, so this week, we got a couple of books here that we've been talking about. Like, are we now officially influencers, Shane? That books we talk about are getting recognition?
I don't know. I think we talk about them, and then Nerdy Geek goes and buys them. So
he buys like 100 copies, and then that starts the trend and makes the trending list. I'm just saying. Because there is a book that we talked about that what we said was devalued. No one's looking at it a couple of weeks ago, and here it is in the top 10. And lo and behold, is in a very, very high spot.
Yeah.
We got that going on. Daredevil's coming up soon, so there's a lot of love for Daredevil. And there's still a lot of love for Marvel Rivals. But I am happy to announce the best news of them all. Jeff has returned, and I'm so happy.
And it's not even a bad cover.
It's of course it's Peach Momoka and Jeff. Come on, how can you go wrong? You know what I'm saying? Let's take a look at this list. You know what? I would like to say there's surprises, and there are, but they're not as surprising. All right, so this week is a kind of expected week, even though there's some books here that beforehand no one was looking and specking on. Now they're specking on. Let's start with the first book. Our first book is a holdover from last week, and that's Fantastic Four 247 or 24/7, as I like to call it. Yeah. That book came out in 1982 from Marvel Comics. The last sell of this book was at $13 raw. And the book is still going, trending for about $5 raw and $236.09.8 on the trending list. It's only number 6 on Key Collector. The sales volume of this book is still kind of up there with 58%. The hype level is at a medium. So we talked about this last week. It's dropping, but it's still on the list.
Yeah, I think once a trailer gets released or we get a character picture or anything like that, maybe this will bring that book back up. But who knows if how it'll be related. It could, affect a different book at that point.
Yeah, and this book is more trending because of the Doom storyline that's going on in the comics. So it's not even trending because of Doom's coming into the movies, even though there are rumors and whispers that we are going to see our first Fantastic Four trailer come Super Bowl, which is in a couple of weeks. But don't expect to see Doom in that trailer. Yeah. Maybe we get a little bit of Galactus. Wouldn't that be cool?
That would be awesome.
So there you have it. Fantastic Four 24/7 at number 10. At number 9, the book that just won't go away. No matter how often we talk about comics, this book just wants to just stay there. And part of the reason it has to deal with the sales. So Mark Spears' Monsters #1, we're talking about cover A from Keen Spot in 2024. The last recorded sale of this book is at $267 in a raw. The fair market value of this book is at $255 raw. However, 9.8s have gone up to $515. Last week we talked about it was in the 400s. Now we're talking about 500s. The trending list, it's only on cover price in number 6. The sales volume of this book is at 52%. The hype level is at a medium because it's not selling as much as it once did. What's causing this book to stay on this list is that high value. The fact that this book is selling at $250-ish says a lot about this book.
Yeah, and we're another week closer to when, I don't remember if it's 3 or 4 of Monsters that everybody was able to order after all the kind of hype, myself included. So I'm really looking forward to that time period and to see how it affects this book then.
Yeah. And we're gonna get a new book this week as well. We'll talk about that when we get to the new books. This book is still just dancing. It's just dancing on this list, really.
Yeah.
Number 8. We're still on that Mark Spears train, but this one is Deadly Tales of the Gunslinger. Notice that I didn't say Spawn, issue number 2. This is the Mark Spears variant. This book just came out last week. It's going for $7 raw. That was the last recorded sale. Fair market value of this book is $10. 9.8s are already starting to sell for about $55. It is number 8 on CBSI. The sales volume of this book is at 75%, largely because it's a new book and a lot of people went to buy it. And the hype level is at a medium. My question for you is, what's your thought on this cover in comparison to others?
I think the perspective is similar to a lot of his other covers, right? Like, even if you look at the book right before this, it's the same kind of perspective, like kind of being low on the ground. I searched for this book at 3 different stores and could not find it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's tough to come by, so people are seeking it out.
Yeah. It's a book that the order run wasn't as high as everybody expected because no one was really banking on this book like that. I think that's no longer the case when it comes to Mark Spears covers. I think we're at that point that we're oversaturated with Mark Spears covers. So I honestly believe it's going to level out now. And it actually has. But we are still looking at people saying, oh, wow, I need to get that book. I want to get that book. And the sales are still pretty hype for that book. Mm-hmm. All right. No, who doesn't love Dalmatian Horse? Let's take a look at number 7. Number 7, this was a sleeper, but not one that was too surprising. That's Venom 37, the Godzilla variant. This came out in 2024 from Marvel Comics. A raw is going for $26. Fair market value of this book is at $29 raw, while you could obtain a 9.8 for approximately $74. This is on the trendy list for CBSI, number 9 on theirs. Number 5 in cover price. The sales volume of this book is at 56. Hype level of this book is at a low. Godzilla with the Venom symbiote.
It's a cool cover, and to be honest, until I saw this slide when I was reviewing them, I've never seen this cover before, so I don't know which cover of this I have, but it's definitely not that one. I do remember all these Godzilla variants coming out, but I don't think the store I go to had that one.
Yeah, this book I think came out sometime in September, and it just stood there. No one really went crazy for it. It's a great looking cover. Who doesn't want to see a Venomized Godzilla? Like, seriously.
Yeah.
Right? So with that, on top of the fact that we're going to get more crossover events when it comes to Godzilla and Marvel comic books, I think Godzilla has it best because he shows up in DC, he shows up in Marvel, he shows up wherever the hell he wants to. Yeah. He doesn't care. He goes wherever he wants. So that's Godzilla.
Universes don't matter to Godzilla.
He just doesn't care. He does what he wants. That's the sign of a true OG, you know?
Yeah.
And this is just a cool looking cover. Yeah. Like, again, who doesn't want to see that? Let's take a look at number 6. And number 6, here we go. It's the start of the Daredevil train that we're going to be looking at. Daredevil number 14. This came out in 2016 from Marvel Comics. $35 raw was the last recorded sale. Fair market value of this book is at $46 raw, $110 at a 9.8. It was number 4 in CBSI, number 7 in cover price. The sales volume is at 25%. Yep, we've changed the hype level. It is now high because we're getting closer and closer to Daredevil, and we've been seeing some really cool trailers.
Oh, man.
This character, I don't know my thoughts on how this character is going to be perceived in the show. Also, I don't know for how long he's going to be in the show.
I love the trailer. Mm-hmm. I mean, I love it more for not so much this character, but just the interaction of Daredevil and Kingpin. I think Vincent does an amazing job as Kingpin. I can't wait to see this show and have them kind of fully in the Marvel universe. So good. I can't wait.
Yeah. And with this book, this is the first cover appearance of Muse. So it's not his first appearance. His first appearance is another book that we're actually going to talk about some more. This character is sickening. This character falls in the same way as they did Purple Man for Jessica Jones. So this character has a lot of potential. However, one of the things I will say is that this character is going to be hot now. What is he going to look like in a year?
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So if you're willing, if you want it, you no one's stopping you. I will put the brakes on this book until after the series is over, or at least his part is gone, and then you'll start seeing that no one's going to talk about this character.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I agree.
With that said, let's go to number 5. This is probably going to be the oldest book in our list, and that's Amazing Spider-Man 129. This book came out in 1974 from Marvel Comics. This last recorded sale of this book was at $2,475 at a 9.2. The fair market value of this book is at $779 raw, and we're talking about like a very fine or good, so it's not going to be like a 9.0. However, 8.0s are going for about $1,858. Trendy list, this was number 2 on Key Collector. The sales volume of this book is an amazing 56% with the price of this book. That's impressive. And of course, we talked about Daredevil. The hype level is high. This has got to be the Bronze Age book. This is, or at least in number 2, because Wolverine's probably number 1.
Yeah, I mean, as a watcher, again, going back to those shows of the Punisher show, but before that, having him show up and see Kingpin and have them interact, I mean, it drove me to buy this book. Basically, it was one that was missing, and I'm like, that's it. I'm just buying this book. Enough.
Yeah, over at a convention this weekend, I was at the Garden State Comic Fest. I saw a high graded version of this book, and it's so good. It was like a 9.0 or something like that.
Oh man!
And it looks so good. The guy was asking for like almost $4,000, which I think was a great price for the book. My brain's not functioning properly, but it is gorgeous. It is a great book. It is a book you want to have in your collection.
Yeah.
Whether you like Punisher or not, this is such a amazing, what we call blue chip book.
Yeah, and it's like, it's in that amazing Spider-Man run that a lot of people try to fill. It's got the Punisher. It's got a first appearance. It's also got the Jackal in it. There's just a good book, and it's the iconic cover. It's got a lot of stuff going for it for sure.
Absolutely. It's so perfectly illustrated. It just looks perfect.
Yeah.
It's perfect. So there you have it. Number 5, Amazing Spider-Man 129. A classic. Let's go to our next one, and that is yes. Fantastic Four 28, the Marvel Rivals Peach Momoka variant. This book came out last week, and it's already going for $20. In fact, it last sold for $20, and that is the fair market value of this book. People are already selling this book at 9.8 at $83. It's number 10 in Key Collector, number 1 in CBSI, and I don't know what the heck Cover Price was thinking not putting it in their list, because the sales volume of this book is at 160%. Hype level, it's a high because it's a Marvel Rivals book. Talk to me. We brought back Jeff.
Again, I went looking for this book, couldn't find it, got laughed at for asking about it. Yeah, sure. Yeah, that was long gone. And now what I want to ask you is, how many copies of this were you able to find?
So I'm happy to announce I happen to have 3. This was a book that I said it from the beginning. Not so much to Jeff, but Jeff is also part of the equation. Marvel Rivals is hot. In the same way Mark Spears was hot when those Monsters books first came out. No one's buying them at the moment, But when people go out to the shops, what's left is there. So people are grabbing them. They're grabbing them, they're taking them, and they're capitalizing on them. And dealers, speculators, everybody that's part of it they're going in, they're reselling them.
Yeah.
Because there is an audience right now for these books. Jeff is there, Galactica is there. It's set. What's interesting is that it says Marvel Rivals on the cover.
Yeah.
That was genius because they did the Scarlet Witch one. If you remember, the Scarlet Witch book came out and it didn't get that much traction. It actually has some traction with cover price right now. It didn't make this list, but it does have traction. The Scarlet Witch one that she did with Jeff. This one's is going to get more traction because it has the Marvel's Rivals logo on it.
I agree. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They've been good covers too. And I like this cover. Even it's actually a little bit different for a Peach style than usual.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I don't know what the best word is, like a little bit more detailed on it than kind of pastel. I really like it.
Yeah. So there you have it. Fantastic Four 28, the Marvel Rivals variant done by Peach Momoko. Let's take a look at number 3. We talked about Muse. Now let's talk about his first appearance in Daredevil 11. This book came out in 2016. This book is now going for $100 in a 9.8. That was the last recorded sale. $77 for a Raw. $246 for a 9.8. So that last recorded sale got one hell of a deal compared to the fair market value. On the trending list, it was number 1 on Key Collector, number 3 in CBSI, number 10 in cover price. The sales volume is 53%. We talked about Daredevil. The hype level was there. It's at a high. So going back to Muse, this cover is Rod Gardner did a phenomenal job with this cover.
Yeah. It's that white. It stands out with the other colors. And I do agree with what you were saying before. Somebody had said it in the comments, but Kingpin usually hires guys to be the villains. And that's kind of, if you think about how they're going to set up this story, Kingpin's not going to be able to fight if he's the mayor. So he's going to have other people that are going to be doing his battles for him. And I think, like you said, Bullseye will be there and Muse will be there as a newer character. And depending on how it goes, like this book holds some value. And if it doesn't come across well, then you'll be able to pick this up for a lot cheaper in 6 months.
And honestly, I don't think Muse is going to be a hired gun because that's not his style from the comics, from what I know. This person's a serial killer. And as a serial killer goes, it's not usually a hired gun. Bullseye is a hired gun.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a character that I think is going to be outside of the scope of what Kingpin's offering, right? So he's not going to be a hired gun for Kingpin. I think he's just doing what he's doing. That's why I don't see him having a long time period on the show. Maybe they give him a couple of episodes, but I don't know. I personally don't think he's going to have he's going to be a subplot in the story more than the main villain. Kingpin is the main villain. We know that. Yeah. All right, let's take a look at our next book in our list, number 2. Back to Marvel Rivals, Storm number 4. This book came out in 2025, just 2 weeks ago, for $25 is the last recorded sale. That's pretty much the average for the fair market value for the Raws. There's 9.8s already being sold for $110. It's number 10 in CBSI, number 2 in cover price. The sales volume of this book is at 119%. Hype level is high. It's a Marvel Rivals. This one I think is going to cool off now. Even though it's number 2 today, I think it still has a bit of the hype train from last week associated with it. But I think come next week, this is probably going to be higher in the list, or it's going to be gone.
Yeah, we'll see. This is one of those ones that, the first wave of covers came out and people couldn't get them. And then that brought more attention to this one. So I think it kind of had like a big bump because of that, because, people were trying to find it because they'd heard about all this rival stuff and couldn't. So now they just kept on looking for it. So it will be interesting to see what happens next week.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think next week, this coming week, in fact, I don't think there's any Marvel Rivals book. So people are probably going to still be hunting them. But the Capcom books, now people are starting looking at those books. And we talked about them, it last week, where it's like, well, you don't have Marvel Rivals. I have some Capcoms. You want that instead. And people are going to be grabbing those. Now, for the number 1 book, it's Spawn 356, the Mark Spears variant. This book came out last year in 2024. Raws are last sold for $25. Fair market value of this book is $31. 9.8. $56. I promise you're not going to find it for $56 now. That's just a sale hasn't just been recorded yet. Number 7 on Key Collector. Number 2 on CBSI. Number 1 in cover price. This is an important note. Sales volume is at 127%. Hype level is at a high for this book. We talked about this when we talked about Creator Spotlight with Mark Spears. We said this Spawn book was going to be on demand to go grab it, and people are grabbing it.
Yep. It's a, classic Spears colors, really. You got the little hint of the green there, but great cover, great Spawn cover. I tried to find it too, and I couldn't find it. I'm not having much luck with those modern ones of his. Mm-hmm. But I'm glad it's on the list. I think it's a great cover.
Yeah. This book, a few weeks ago, when we were covering this book, and when we were covering this book in the Mark Spears video, we said this book was going to be hot. We said it. We called it. And it's hot. So hot that the sales volume of this book went 127%. That's saying that people got it the minute they started noticing. And it just sold, and it had a snowball effect. And now the book's going for $25. It's going for $30. Pretty soon it's going to go higher.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. It's a pretty good Spawn cover too.
Yeah, I like it.
Mm-hmm. So there you have it, guys. What's your thoughts of this ranking system? Which book do you have? Share it with us in the comments. Let us know what you got. And make sure you stay tuned for next week's rankings. Man, I can't wait to see what next week looks like. It's gonna be fun to see what happens next week. But go check that out, guys. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more comic content. Check out these other videos for even more insight, and I'll see you at the next one. Excelsior.